Tyranitar is the best Pokemon in Gen 3 OU, and of all the number 1 Pokemon in any metagame I've ever played, Gen 3 Tyranitar is my favorite. This is a great example of a top tier Pokemon at just the right power level for a healthy metagame to develop around it. Tyranitar is powerful, versatile, and metagame defining. The way it's used evolves and changes just as much as the counterplay to it. Let's take a look at what makes Tyranitar so great and the many different ways it can be used. Like this video and subscribe to the channel to shield yourself from Iron Chugulus, paradox future form of the newly revealed convergent evolution of Sinistee, Poltchargeist, and known confidant of the notorious Iron Mugulis. Thank you. Tyranitar's defining trait is its ability Sandstream, which creates permanent sandstorm whenever it enters the field. This is the only permanent weather effect in OU, and it serves a very important purpose. In Generation 2 OU, Snorlax is the number 1 Pokemon in the metagame. Snorlax has amazing stats, a vast move pool, and it gets huge value out of the healing from leftovers. Sometimes, Snorlax can be pretty frustrating to eliminate, shrugging off a lot of common hits, and passively healing huge amounts over the course of games with leftovers. I enjoy Generation 2 OU, but it can be a hard metagame to get into because of how sturdy and difficult to break some of these top tier Pokemon are, leading to a pretty slow paced metagame. Since Sandstorm cancels out leftovers healing, Sandstream is basically a universal nerf to a lot of powerful defensive Pokemon that would otherwise be very difficult to break through. If Sandstorm did not exist, Snorlax might be a contender for the best Pokemon in the game yet again. In Gen 3 Ubers, due to sand not being as common, Snorlax is one of the best defensive Pokemon in the format, even outranking many legendaries. On the surface it may seem like Permanent Sandstorm restricts the metagame a lot in a negative way, but I actually think it skews the metagame to a more satisfying pace. So if a Pokemon has really great defensive qualities and healing moves, it is probably also vulnerable to Sandstorm, which really helps in offsetting those defensive advantages and making it easier to break through. A good defensive Pokemon with sand immunity, like Swampert, can't heal as reliably, and their health is a more limited and precious resource. Permanent Sandstorm is a big factor in why offensive and defensive gameplay feel pretty evenly matched in Gen 3 OU. Beyond this metagame defining ability, Tyranitar is an excellent Pokemon in many ways. Tyranitar has a huge amount of set variety and can be extremely customizable. The most classic and standard Tyranitar set is a Dragon Dance set, a straightforward win condition with the excellent rock and ground physical coverage combination and many different possible options for the 4th move slot. Commonly this is Hidden Power Bug, which hits targets like Celebi, Starmie, and Claydol super effectively, but Double Edge is also common for strong neutral damage. Taunt can be used to disrupt things like Skarmory using Raw or a status move. Focus Punch can punish defensive switch-ins. Counter, along with enough bulk to live specific hits, can catch enemies like Metagross, Flygon, or Claydol off guard. And then there's even lure sets that use Hidden Power Grass or Ice Beam to punish incoming Swampert or Flygon. Even the most standard Tyranitar set has enormous amounts of variety in where you invest its EVs and the important choice of that last move slot. These days, the bulkier variants of Dragon Dance Tyranitar are most popular, having enough bulk to live important hits from full health, like Earthquake from Dugtrio, Hydro Pump from Starmie, and Meteor Mash from Metagross, allows Tyranitar to find more setup opportunities and just be more useful in general. Faster Tyranitar sets are still great on offensive teams. With a jolly nature and max speed investment, Tyranitar can outrun Gengar and offensive Starmie after a single Dragon Dance, which has a lot of benefit. Without enough bulk, these sets are outsped and KO'd by Dugtrio however, which is a big vulnerability. Every Dragon Dance Tyranitar set should be tweaked to appropriately fill the gaps of your team. Another common way to use Tyranitar is as a bulky physical attacker, with HP and attack investment and a moveset of 4 attacks. Tyranitar is both defensively potent and offensively frightening. This set was pioneered by old gens gamer and fellow YouTuber BKC, and is often nicknamed BKC Tar. Tyranitar is a very effective abuser of Focus Punch. You will often invite the enemy to switch into a rock resist with Tyranitar, and Focus Punch can punish those switch-ins quite effectively. This set is also really nice at offensively checking enemies like Carmine, Jirachi, and Celebi. Miscellaneous utility moves like Counter and Roar can also be used on this set. This is a great Pokemon on balanced teams that can really improve your matchup against important threats, while giving you some much needed offensive firepower. The most immediately threatening way to use Tyranitar is with a Choice Band. This set comes with a bit of risk. It's more prediction reliant than the other sets, and can be more vulnerable to Dugtrio, which can punish many of the moves you lock into. Locking into moves allows various enemies to set up spikes or even boost up, taking advantage of your lock. But there are very few Pokemon in this metagame with the sheer immediate damage output of Choice Band Tyranitar. If you correctly land a Choice Band boosted Focus Punch, it can be completely game winning. Every time you have this Pokemon in, you're putting the enemy in a very awkward position. This set fits well on teams that aim to lure in and eliminate particular walls, making way for teammates. Sometimes just one big hit with Choice Band Tyranitar is enough to put you way ahead. Tyranitar can also be used with special attacking sets. In Gen 3, Pursuit is a special move, and Tyranitar is the most effective Pursuit user in the game. Pursuit Tyranitar has the important role of trapping and eliminating Gengar, which can enable many different teammates. Fighting types, Rapid Spinners, and offensive Pokemon with Explosion become much better when Gengar is eliminated. Pursuit and Crunch are must-haves on this set to threaten Gengar, but the last two slots are quite flexible. Fire Blast is a common option to hit Skarmory and other Steel types. Hidden Power Grass can punish Swampert. Ice Beam can punish Flygon. Focus Punch or Brick Break can be used to punish Blissey. This is a particularly nice option, as Blissey will often think they're totally safe against a special Tyranitar and be caught off guard by these options. Utility moves like Roar or Toxic can also be good, and Earthquake can help you out in the Jirachi matchup. Even if you're using Fire Blast, Calm Mind Jirachi can outpace and break through you eventually, so Earthquake can really help you cover this matchup. You can also use a speedy mixed attacking set on Tyranitar. This Pokemon has a vast offensive move pool with coverage to threaten most of the format. With Fire Blast, Hidden Power Grass, Brick Break and Ice Beam on one set, you're pretty tough to switch into. Tyranitar is a bit weaker on the special side, so it won't quite be able to one-hit most things, but it can cause a lot of early damage, force switches, and give you crucial information on their team. Mixed Tyranitar is one of the best aggressive openers in the game. Substitute attacking sets can also be used on Tyranitar, with both physical and mixed variants. Substitute plus Focus Punch is a classic combo, and if Tyranitar finds a safe opportunity to substitute, they're getting a guaranteed huge attack. This set is particularly good alongside paralysis users. If Tyranitar can outspeed the enemy and substitute first, it's much more effective. These sets run a lot of different offensive options. Some invest in special attack and use moves like Crunch, Fire Blast, Thunder for bulky water types, Ice Beam or Hidden Power Grass for certain ground types, or you can invest fully in physical attack and use Rock Slide, Earthquake and Hidden Power Bug. These are basic outlines of the different roles Tyranitar can fill, but within every single one of these roles is massive set variety and different potential EV spreads. Players also use completely custom Tyranitar sets that mix and match ideas from all of these different roles. Although Tyranitar has been used commonly ever since Gen 3OU was first played on Net Battle almost 20 years ago, the way that players use it has evolved consistently. I don't think any other #1 Pokemon has this much variety in different roles it can perform, and even further variety within each of those roles. With so many different ways in the metagame to respond to Tyranitar and all of its sets, it is never an overly dominant presence either. Answering Tyranitar is reasonable, and unlike many other powerful Pokemon in the franchise, using Tyranitar is not mindless. All good competitive teams will be equipped to handle Tyranitar in some way, and if you don't use this Pokemon intelligently, you're going to lose. This is what a top offensive threat should be. Powerful but fair, a healthy central presence that has shaped one of the greatest competitive Pokemon formats of all time. Thank you to the patrons for your continued support, and thank you to everyone who has donated to my Gen 3OU tournament, ADV Revival. The prize pool is already over 2,400 USD. Thanks to all of you. Sign-ups are now closed, but stay tuned to the upcoming commentary and analysis of tournament games.
KO by one hit! It scattered Sprite!
The money got different.